Today's topic is fundamental rights of India. So, in this topic, we are going to learn about the fundamental rights that are written in our Indian Constitution. As we know, they are called fundamental rights because they are written in the Constitution and they are the basic human rights which are given to every citizen in a democracy for the development of his or her personality. So, as these rights are guaranteed by the Constitution, we are going to study them one by one. So, in the starting, Indian Constitution provided 7 fundamental rights. Right to property, which was under Article 19, was removed from the list by 44 Amendment Act in 1978. Now it is a legal right under Article 308. So it is not a fundamental right, but it is a legal right, and it states that nobody shall be deprived of his or her property. Now one more right is being added, that is right to privacy. It is a fundamental right under Article 21, which we will read later on. So first fundamental right of Indian Constitution is right to equality, and it is also called rule of law. So according to right to equality, it provides equality to all the citizens before law, and equal protection is provided to each and every individual according to the law, and nobody is above law. Means if a person is in a higher position or at a higher rank, no discrimination will be done on ground of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. Everybody will be treated equally. Every citizens, they have equal access to public places, restaurants, hotels, cinema hall, and there will be no restriction with the use of any public property. Now this Article 14 to 18, it is being covered, and Article 14 first one, it states that equality before law, that is all are equal before law and all are equally protected by the law of the state. State means here government, and no person is above the law in a country. Article 15, it states that no discrimination can be done on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. Next article is Article 16. It states that equality in public employment. Everybody has to be provided employment, and for that reservation is provided by the government. But as you can see that equality does not mean giving everyone the same treatment no matter what they need. It means that giving everyone an equal opportunity to achieve whatever one is capable of. So sometimes it is necessary to give special treatment to someone in order to ensure equal treatment. So you can't say that reservation of any kind is a violation of right to equality. So reservation is not a violation of right of equality. It is just a special treatment that is provided by the government to those who are not able to have equal access. Now next article is Article number 17, that is abolition of untouchability. So it is a untouchability, as we know that it is a punishable offense. Constitution has directed the government to put an end to the practice of untouchability, and it is an extreme form of social discrimination. So untouchability does not mean refusal to touch people belonging to certain class or certain caste. It refers to a belief that social practice which look down upon people on account of their birth within certain caste label, so such practice has to be stopped. So such practice, as it denies interaction with other persons, access to public places as equal citizens, that is why constitution had made this practice of untouchability or punishable offense. Now, Article 18, it states about the removing of the titles that are being given to any person, like some being awarded by the Britishers when they were abolished. So all those titles has to be taken away. So now next right is about right to freedom. So right to freedom, it covers article 19 to 22, and it is also called cluster of rights. It is called cluster of right because it provides various about 6 freedoms to the citizens, and these 6 freedoms are freedom to speech and expression, freedom to assemble peacefully and without arms, freedom to form associations and union, freedom to move freely throughout the territory of India, freedom to reside and settle in any part of India, and freedom to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade or business. So these freedoms are being provided by the Constitution, but one cannot exercise his freedom in such a manner that it violates others' right to freedom. A person is free to do whatever he wants to do, but it should not provide or give any kind of injury or harm to other person. So freedom is not an unlimited license. So article 19(2), it imposes certain restrictions to the freedom that is being mentioned above, that we have studied in the article 19. These restrictions are being imposed by the government through 19A, because like the freedom of speech and expression, if it is against the interest in the sovereignty, integrity, security, or our friend relation with other countries, or public order, decency. So if anything like this happens, so restrictions are being imposed. Right to assemble peacefully without harm. In the same manner, if a person is assembling, any procession is being taken, it should not be against the interest and the sovereignty of India or against the public order. Meetings and processions, rallies and demonstrations can be made, but that should be done in a peaceful manner. People participating in it, they should not carry any weapon, and citizens, they can form association to promote their interest. Now next one is the freedom to move throughout the territory of India. It is also having certain restrictions, because if it goes against the interest of the general public or it violates the protection of the scheduled tribes, it is also being provided by the law. So same way, practice of any profession, it has restrictions in the same manner, because the freedom of occupation is being allowed. No one can force you to do or not to do a certain job. Even people from deprived class, they cannot be forced to keep their traditional occupation. So such things are they can't do anything like that. Now next one, protection in respect of conviction of offenses. Article 20, it carries it. So under this article 20, no citizen of India can be convicted for an act that was not an offense at the time of its commission. So no citizen can be given punishment greater than the punishment that is provided by the law. That means whatever is written in a law, one person can't be given more than that punishment. Even if some person is being arrested, a person who is arrested or detained in custody, he has to be informed about the reason why he is being arrested, why why he has been detained. Such a person shall be produced before the magistrate within 24 hours, and a person has a right to consult a lawyer or engage any for his own defense. So that is protection of life of and personal liberty. That is article number 21. So it comes under article 21 that every person has liberty to be have provided according to the procedures that is being laid down by the law, and it is an absolute right. It cannot be suspended during the time of emergency. Now in this article 21, two articles are also rights are also added. That is article number 21A states the Right to Education Act, that is RTE. So right to education came into force in the 2010 after the right to education bill was being passed in the parliament. It was written in the constitution, but it was accepted as a right only after the education bill was presented in the parliament. It states that the government or the state should provide free and compulsory education to all the children of the age 6 to 14, and this provision makes elementary education a fundamental right. Now article 21, it also includes a new right, that is right to privacy. So judges of the Supreme Court, they held in the year 2017 right to privacy as a fundamental right. According to this right, no person can be searched or tapping of the phone can be done. A person has a right to save his privacy, but it is also having certain restrictions are there, and it is not an absolute right. That means total privacy or benefit of right to privacy is being provided to every person. No, it has certain restrictions also. Now right against arrest and detention in any cases, article 22 covers this one, and this a person has a right to know the cause of his arrest detention at the time of arrest. If he has to be produced within 24 hours, as I stated before, that the person has to be produced in front of a judge. Every citizen is allowed to consult a lawyer after his arrest, and there are certain norms to be followed, and in that a warrant has to be produced. Now next right is right against exploitation, and it covers article 23 and 24. Right against exploitation has two provisions. Article 23, it states that the abolition of the removing of the trafficking in human beings and begar, that is called forced labor. So trafficking in human beings means selling and buying of human beings, particularly usually women and children, for immoral purposes. And begar, it is a type of forced labor. Begar is a practice where a person is forced to render services. Render means to provide services to the master free of charge or at a nominal rate. That means limited money is being given to him. So these two practices, they are to be removed under this article. They are punishable offense, and it has to be prohibited. Article 24, prohibition of employment of children in factories. Children below the age of 14 working in any factory or hazardous employment if they are involved in any such occupation, it is prohibited by the law, and it is illegal. So children, those who are working in industries such as BD making, firecrackers, match dyeing, printing, because they cause harm to the children. Now, next right is right to freedom of religion. Under this, Article 25 to 28, it covers right to freedom of religion has four aspects. India is a secular state, and we are not giving any privilege or favor is being provided to any particular religion. It is India is based, its main concern is relation among the human beings. So being a secular state, it does not establish any one single religion as an official religion. So Article 25, it covers freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propaganda of religion. That means a person is allowed to practice any religion he or she believes in. Every religious group or sect is free to manage its religious affairs. So Article 26 covers, that is number 1, they can establish and maintain institutions for religious and charitable purpose. They can manage their own affair or matters of religion in their own manner. They can acquire movable and immovable property. They can administer such property according to the law. So Article 26 provide benefit to the religious groups to work up on their own. So Article 27, it covers freedom as to the payment of taxes for the promotion of any particular religion, but the government cannot compel anyone to pay taxes for a religious group. It has to be done by a person on his own. It is up to a citizen if he or she wants to pay any form of tax that is levied by a religion. So religious groups, they charge a certain money from their followers, so it is up to the citizens. Government can't compel anyone to pay them. Now Article 28, freedom to attendance at religious instruction or worship in certain educational institutions. Private bodies, that means private institutions, they have their religious following, but nobody could be compelled to do so. They are doing their own religious following, but a person cannot be pressurized to do or to have that religious following. Admissions, cultural and educational rights, Article 29 to 30. So these articles, they were administered to protect the interest of minorities. So in this right, that is cultural and education right, particularly minorities are being provided the benefit, because the working of democracy, it always give power to the majority, and the minority, in the sense, it could be minority of a language, it could be minority of a religion or a culture following. So language, cultural, religion of minorities, they need certain special protection, and for this right to cultural and education is being provided by the constitution. Otherwise they may get neglected or undermined under the impact of the language, religion of the majority. So Article 29, it protects the interest of the minorities. Any minority of a language, culture or religion, they have a right to conserve their culture. They can no one can be denied entry into any education institution that is maintained by the state or those who are receiving fund from the state. So in these working, minorities need the protection. Article 30, it provides the right to minorities to establish and administer educational institutions of their own choice. So minorities, they can frame their own or have their own education institutions. Article 31, it is regarding the acquisition of the property. It has several parts and it is a very big concept, but we are not going to study it. Now, right to constitutional remedies. In this, it covers article from 32 to 35, and article 32, it has provision for legal enforcement of the fundamental rights of our constitution. So we are not discussing the articles separately as it is quite exclusive one. So we are just covering up one single right, that is right to constitutional remedies. So constitutional remedies, it is also called the guardian of other rights, and B.R. Ambedkar also called it the heart and soul of our constitution, as this right makes other rights effective. When any of the fundamental rights are violated, then citizens, they can directly approach the court, whether it is Supreme Court or High Court. And if any act of executive or legislature takes away or limits any of the fundamental rights, it will be invalid, and we citizens can challenge such laws that are being passed by any state government or the central government in the court. Now both the courts, they also have the power to issue directions, order or writs. Now writ is a formal document that contains an order of the court to the government, issued only by the High Court or by the Supreme Court, and it has to be followed by the government, whether it is state government or central government. And these directions, orders or writs of any form for the enforcement of the right, so they are for the protection of the citizens. Now, securing the fundamental right, as we know, the constitutional remedies, it provide benefit of having our fundamental rights. We can challenge if any right is being violated in the court. So any person can go to the court against the violation of the fundamental rights, and if it is of social and public interest, a person can go to court for his own protection. In the same manner, if any violation is being made on a social concept or a public interest, then it is called public interest litigation. So it is, short form is PIL. Under the PIL, a citizen or a group of citizens, they can approach the Supreme Court or a High Court for the protection of public interest against a particular law or action of the government. So public interest PIL, under it any citizen can approach the Supreme Court or High Court. Now, expansion or expanding the scope of rights. As we know, with the change of time, fundamental rights are coming up, like the right to freedom of press, right to education, right to information, right to privacy. So in different democratic countries, new fundamental rights are being framed. Constitution is accepting certain legal rights. They are provided, but they are not fundamental, like right to property, right to vote, right to work. So for this, we have to study human rights also. So human rights, as you know, they are the universal moral claims that may or may not be recognized by law of a country, but with the expansion of democratic setup in various part of the world, a democracy in a democratic country or a democratic working of a government, there is a pressure on the government to accept these human rights. So democratic country or democracy, it accepts the human rights, but in other way of working like monarchical government, dictator or military working, is if there is, so they don't accept the human rights. International covenants, they try to they try to implement the human rights. They play a major role in the expansion of the rights. They try that the human rights are being accepted by the democratic way of working of a government. So international covenant, it is a promise or a signature made by individuals or by the groups or by the countries. They uphold or they accept a rule or a principle, and they are legally bound because they have signed a paper. So international covenants is a working that is mainly covering up the human rights. Human right violations have to be covered up, and for that international covenants are working in various parts of the world. Now international covenant, they are covering economic, social and cultural rights also. So they recognize many rights that are not directly a part of our constitution also, like right to work, right to safe and healthy working condition, right to having a proper standard of living, right to health, right to education. But right to education we have already accepted as a fundamental right. Now besides all those topics, human rights are being covered up in India by Human Rights Commission, that is NHRC. So NHRC is an independent commission that was set up in 1993. This commission is appointed by the President of India. NHRC, it focuses on helping the victims to secure their human rights. So these includes all the rights that are granted to the citizens by the Constitution. So Human Rights Commission, they make independent and credible inquiry into any case of violation of human rights. If a person is having a court case, he can also ask for Human Rights Commission to have an inquiry in his or her case. So in that case, Commission presents its finding and recommends to the government, but Human Rights Commission, they can make only recommendation. They can ask to have paperwork or all those things, but they cannot issue any order. They cannot make any order. So this is what we have covered in our chapter. There are certain more topics regarding international covenants, that is the Constitution of South Africa, and you can read it from your book. They are just it is only revision. Like Constitution of South Africa, it provides right to privacy, right to safe environment, and right to have access in the healthcare, proper housing. So this is the end of our topic.